sorry to interrupt you, but
We're done.
we're going to need to move on. But
Thank you.
I am modeling the Vote 2020 Femmes for Change mask. So if you're interested in having one of those masks, I have many in my house. You go to the Femmes for Change website. It's a $20 donation. You hear that it's going to go to voter education. And then you also get on their mailing list. I received a call to action for the Postal Service last week. It was easy, I texted. So if you're looking for a place to help and to kind of just become more educated, get involved, particularly as it relates to voter engagement right now, I would highly suggest that you go to femmesforchange.org, get your Vote 2020 mask. Patricia, thank you for not only helping us. I told Patricia she was our cheerleader. She was the one that got to pump us up and get us ready to talk to Secretary Benson, who is wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Patricia,
Thank you.
Did you have a last word?
Yeah, it's really an important word, and I want to say it today because we're a group of women. Yes, women were given the opportunity to vote in 1920, but it really only applied to white women, and this matters. Native American women couldn't vote until 1947, Asian women in 1952, and Black women effectively in 1965 with the Voting Rights Act. So just because a law passes doesn't mean our work is done, and we need to work and help other women lift each other up. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Welcome.
Drop the mic, Patricia. Nice work. And actually, I think it leads us very well into Secretary Benson, who is our 43rd Secretary of State, another one of our power women that is part of the Michigan executive team that we are fortunate to have. So thank you so much for joining us. I know right now, like, you're in game time. You're countdown. It's crazy. I am so appreciative that you were able to join us today. And I'd like to just kind of hop off of what Patricia said. I know you have an incredible background in civil rights in that you literally wrote a book about secretaries of state and being tasked with the democracy. Let's just start with, we know that the 100th Amendment did not, while it constitutionally allowed all women to vote, it was not in reality for all women. How do you see voter suppression even today still playing? And how can we, as 200 women on this call, help to ensure that everyone's voice is heard and everyone has the opportunity to be heard at the ballots?
Well, thanks for having me. Great words, Patricia. Great to see and connect with all of you. And yeah, voter suppression is a evergreen issue in our democracy, whether it's an intentional effort to block someone from voting, or it's the impact of a number of decisions that make it more difficult or impossible for people to vote. Either intent or effect, suppression is real and leads to depressed turnout, particularly in historically disenfranchised communities, where we have to do even more to ensure the enfranchisement and full access to the vote of all of those citizens. And so that said, we've got a lot that we all can do to combat voter suppression, both in calling out policies and trying to change policies that have been historically or in current time limited people's access to the vote. But also this year, it really is taking on an additional urgency with so many new rules in place, a pandemic, in the as a reality for all of us, that essentially could also combine to suppress engagements, make it harder for people to vote or impossible for them to cast their ballot. Now, interestingly, what we've seen, we've had 3 elections so far this year in Michigan. And in our most recent August primary, this was underscored the most, but we've seen it in every election this year. People want to vote. Turnout records are being shattered in every election that we have. In our most recent August primary, 2.5 million citizens voted. And that was higher than ever before in an August primary in our state. And there were no contested statewide elections. So this was just people wanting to vote, even if the races they were voting on were uncontested or not close. So really extraordinary. We also saw 1.6 million, in other words, the majority of the people who voted, of the 2.5 million who voted by mail in that election. And that also indicates that people want to vote and they want to vote safely. Now, just under 1 million citizens voted in person on election day, which was also something we preserved and we fought to maintain safely and securely, providing our poll workers with masks and gloves and other PPE. But importantly, providing that option as well and enabling so many people to vote early or through the mail, enable us to have no crowds or lines on election day itself. Which was, again, a model for how you run an election in the midst of a pandemic. You have an array of options that voters can take advantage of. Voters will choose what is most convenient for them. And that really is, the opposite of voter suppression. That's voter empowerment, voter accessibility. And the key thing I want to emphasize there with all of that, all those facts and data, is that what made all of that work wasn't me, wasn't our clerks, although of course we all do a significant amount of work making the infrastructure to ensure ballots are received and returned and counted, but it was voters who became fully educated on the issues and engaged themselves, chose the method of voting that was most accessible to them, and then cast their ballot accordingly. And importantly, it was voters themselves who enacted the ability to vote by mail into our state's constitution. So to me, the bottom line is the way to combat voter suppression is through voter engagement and through voters demanding a system that is accessible to them, is secure to them, and then becoming educated about all of the parts of the election administration and our democracy that go into ensuring votes can be cast and counted.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I have to say, I've done quite a bit of research in preparation for this morning. And for anyone who, you can go on to the Secretary's Twitter feed and her Instagram. And just recently you did like a 1-minute pitch about how the process goes through. And we'll include it in our follow-up for this, just so that everybody can really take a look. What I am particularly interested in, so Patricia gave us a nice testimonial about she was not volunteered. She was a poll worker, which I'd love for you to share kind of what a poll worker is and does. We have 200 women, mostly women, probably a few of our male friends on the call. And how can we help ensure that everyone has the ability to go to the polls if that's how they choose to exercise their right? You mentioned, I've seen this democracy as a team sport. And you have a program that is kind of getting into a lot of our passion for sports. So if you could take a moment to explain that and help us understand how we can plug in.
Yes, I mean, yeah, notably partnerships and engagement are the key to success this year. Not just voters individually becoming aware of their rights and how to exercise them, but all of us working together to make sure the infrastructure is in place so that ballots can be received and returned on time and counted and go into an accurate reflection of our vote totals. So that said, the people that make up our election system, our election workers, our poll workers in the precincts, the workers who go behind the scenes to process and count those absentee or ballots sent through the mail, they truly are the nuts and bolts of the success of our democracy. And this is a year where we need more people to step up and serve in that regard. When you look at the success of our elections thus far, and how that's compared to other states, we've been successful in no small part because we have been able to fill every vacancy, even last minute vacancies, to ensure our polls are open on time and our ballots are able to be counted as efficiently as possible. But we need people to make that happen, especially now as we prepare for an election unlike any that we've ever experienced in this state. And by that, I mean, we will have turnout. We will continue to break turnout records. We will have more people voting in this election than have ever voted before in our state. And we need people to make sure those ballots are received, that they're counted, and that everything goes smoothly and securely. So please consider, being an engaged citizen this year means voting early and then volunteering on election day to make sure everyone else's votes get counted and cast. And you can sign up to be an election worker as one of democracy's MVPs at michigan.gov/democracy-MVP. We've already had close to 10,000 people sign up through that, but we need thousands more in order to fill all of the vacancies, not just in precincts, but again, counting and processing absentee ballots as they're mailed in. So there's so much work to be done this year. There's a role that everyone can play, and we hope you'll sign up to be a part of it and help us ensure our elections continue to be smooth, accessible, and secure.
And we'll definitely also include that in the post communications. We as Impact 100 have made a commitment that we will be putting the election day on our website as a gather and serve, which is when we go out in the community and take the opportunity to have impact through our actions. So we are hopeful that we can engage not only our members, but our members' families, friends, neighbors, strangers to be part of that team. I mean, we're fortunate to live in Michigan, which is a state that is going to matter even more than ever. And as we're looking, and I'm looking at time, but as we think about the 100th Amendment, all of the work and all of the struggle in that period of time for everyone, and we think about how we are living in Michigan, what is the parting words that you would say, words of wisdom, or kind of your last cheerleading hurrah for us?
That, we've got, close to just under 70 days until an election that will, decide the future of our state and our country. And there's work that all of us can do to ensure every vote is counted and every voice is heard. We saw in 2018 what can happen when women work together. And I'm so grateful to be part of a true partnership with our extraordinary Attorney General, who is as tough and smart, as brilliant as she is funny. And our really amazing leader with Governor Whitmer, who is focused on data-driven solutions and shows us all how to lead with grace and strength and dignity every day. So that's all. Like, we're all just working for you all, though. Like, that's a reflection of the work that you did, and we're proud to continue to charge forward. But our work isn't done. Your work isn't done. And over the next 70 days, we've got a lot of work to do simply to ensure that every vote is counted and every voice is heard in our state. So spread the word about how to vote. Get people, you can request to vote by mail right now at Michigan.